Hey, what's up? How are y'all? So we are going to talk about Little Richard, I Am Everything, the documentary on HBO Max. It was amazing. We usually go live every Thursday at 7, but today is Beyonce Renaissance Day, so I was at the theater. And that was amazing. And after seeing Beyonce in this film, I have made a pact to myself that I am no longer arguing with people about Beyonce. Like, if you don't see it, you ain't never gonna see it, or you intentionally are not trying to see it. She is the queen. She is I used to say she's the Michael Jackson of our time, but she is the Beyonce of our time because it's like they laid the path. The Diana Rosses, the Tina Turners, the Michael Jacksons, they led the path for us to be here. So, yeah, Yeah. Yeah, I went today. It was amazing. She's the GOAT. She's the GOAT. Like, she's the fucking GOAT. And she proved to I let people like, it was pandemonium with Michael. She just doesn't have that star power. I'm like, baby, this film, she's showing people going nuts. You remember back in the day when they used to go nuts with Michael Jackson? She's showing people going nuts for her too, which I love. I was like, talk your shit, B. She was killing it. It just was the beauty of everything where she at in her life now is just so dope. Go see it. It's fire. Hey, A Moon. Hey, Ty. She definitely is. And I'm not arguing with folks about it no more. You if you don't see it, it's because you don't want to see it. And that's okay. You know. There was some people that didn't see it for Mike. And I had to realize that just because somebody is there's people who just like to be contrary. And in regards to what we're talking about, when we think about Little Richard, it was like, it proves that he was the rock and roll icon that inspired all these greats, particularly white greats. Yeah. But I can't wait. And so if we get Mike in the early 80s. Early 80s. We get Beyonce in the early 2000s, right? So that's a 20-year gap. So from the early 2000s to the early 20s. So there's somebody who is coming out now who could be positioning themselves as that next person. So I'll be on the lookout. Because if we think about like Diana Ross and Tina Turner, their time was in what, the early 60s? In the 60s, and then Mike and Whitney come in the 80s. It's usually like a 20-year rotation. Doja Cat. I like Doja. I hope she grows. I hope it's not. I like Doja, but I want it to be somebody else. I actually want her to be a dark-skinned queer person. I would love that. I would love a dark-skinned, openly queer superstar. Undeniable superstar. Lil Nas. No, but somebody in that vein. I just want it to be a shift. Mhm, 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 mhm. Is it Taylor Swift? I think I'm not somebody that is. I don't think it's gonna be Taylor Swift is in her own lane. They're in, they're in their white country lane. There've been tons of blonde white country superstars. You know, yes, I don't. I'm not somebody that I think Taylor Swift is great. I think her pen game is dope. I think that she is good. I just, you know, I'm I'm more focused on black artists because that's my tea. But I think she is a a star and a talented writer. I don't understand. It's not that I don't understand it. There's always a I think I think if you look at every celebrity entity, particularly women, there's always when a particular thing gets popular, there's always alternative that will get popular because they are the alternative to this thing that got popular. Does it make sense? And I think we see that in a lot of things. Um, and this is not shady, but I've it's certain it's kind of like Beyonce. I think that there's certain people who are contrary to Beyonce's popularity that they gravitate towards a Kelly Rowland because that was an immediate direct connection. But then I think there's another level of gravitate towards a Rihanna because she's the alternative to the Beyonce. Do you see what I'm saying? Beyonce giving you the classic long hair, blonde beauty, and Rihanna giving you the short, dark hair. There was a um more edgy, there was an alternative. And I think when it comes to like racial stuff, I think Taylor Swift is the alternative to those girls who were dominating the black side. When you think about Beyonce, the Rihanna's, da 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 da, there is going to be people who are like, especially during this racially charged time of our culture, they're going to choose Taylor just because she is the contrary. I think that happens a lot. I think more than we know when it comes to things that become too popular. There's always going to be a when something we see we earlier we were talking earlier this month we were talking about that dude that kind of I don't know if he's South Asian that does this. It's the way you act, the way you act, the way you act. Pookie, y'all know who I'm talking about? Um, and he kind of went viral, and he's really handsome, slim. Um, and so what happens is like he'll go the people, and this happens all the time on the internet. It'll go somebody will go viral for being cute or being funny or something, and then there will be a backlash to that person. Like you'll see somebody making a tweet or a post about how, ooh, this person is gets on my nerves. Why did y'all make him popular? There's always a I don't know. I think there's a natural hater in some people when it comes to popular things. When they feel like things are overexposed, they love to call them overrated. They love to call them they love to blame their talent on other things, shit like that. Yeah. Hey, Darcel. Hey, Pumpkin. Hey, Ann. Hey, CB. Who else is in here? Mm, 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 mm. There's always protagonist and an antagonist. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. So, by the way, I love your home decor. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I try to give, you know, Afro lux. I need you to, when you come in, to know that you're in a black home. I like color. My theme is l- luxe primary colors. So gold, royal blue, and burgundy or maroon, whatever you want to call it. The dark red. And then I love texture, so things when I rub them, they have fur and yeah, thank you. I love it. I love it as well. Afro Lux. Mm-hmm. Neutrals, neutral prints with black and white. Cause I love I'm a I'm a print girl, as you can tell by most of the things that I wear. It's gonna be a nasty print. I love prints. A fragrance. Currently, I am burning a candle. Oh, it went out, but it just it is called it's a Bath and Body Works candle, and it is called Party Dress, and you can only get it during the holidays. But it smells like it's a dupe, it's a candle version of Angel from Terry Mugler, the old fragrance Angel. It's exactly that. That's why I love it. It reminds me of my teenage years because Angels is the first luxury fragrance that I stole from Nordstrom's. And it just, I think it's, since I don't wear it as a fragrance no more, as far as body fragrance, I love it as a house fragrance. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. They didn't need my money. I was 17. They didn't need my money. I tipped right on out with that little star. Now they have the star where it lays down, but it used to be the star where it stood up. I said, put it right in my bag. That and a few lipsticks from MAC. Matter of fact, let me burn one. I also like this fragrance. I don't know if they sell this one anymore, but this is called Baja Cactus Blossom. Baja Cactus Blossom. And it is a floral, but it is a like spicy, fruity, not a spicy, fruity floral, not like a candy fruity, but like a clean citrusy fruit, but it has a little bite to it, like a not spices in like cinnamon spice, but spices in it's like a I don't know what it is. It's like a little like a watercress, a little lemongrass maybe. Let me see what the notes are. It is white flowers, green cactus stems, and um sun-kissed coconut. Okay, I can see that. It's like a, but it's almost like it's like I hate saying grass, but that's what comes to mind. It's like a fresh, clean grass, but That's just a note in it. It gives like a white, floral, fruity, citrusy. I love it. It's just clean and nice. I love this. I can't find my I would love to set the mood and light my candle, but I don't know where my candle is. Come on, baby, light my fire. Who sing that song? Quick, 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 quick. Come on, baby, light my fire. I don't know who sang it originally, but the one I know is Shirley Bassey. Where is my lighter? I would love to light my candle. Light my candle. Burn your birthday. I remember a time when I would always have a candle. I mean, always have a lighter ready when I was smoking. Oh, come on, baby, light my fire. The Doors do it originally. I like the Shirley Bassey version. Mm. All right. So let's start. Who So what I love about this film is, it just really lays out queer life in this era of time. So why is my nose got something on my nose? What's that? Oh, that must have been that candle. Ooh, yeah. So it really lays out queer life at this time and his connection to queer people and his connection to his queerness. So there was when I was growing up, Little Richard clearly was a queer person. It was quite obvious and obvious to other people, but there was a difference. So, like a Prince, in conversations about Prince, there was a yeah, he moved different in regards to how he dressed, but there was a defense of his sexuality. Like there was a conversation with the adults about Prince not being gay. Oh, he not gay, and then some people saying yes, he is, and why he dressed like that? Ain't no nigga running around with their ass out, and they not gay, and he in purple, he got that hair and them purple suits, and yeah, he gay, and then some other, and these would be conversation between like straight men, not just not just the women. Actually, more than likely, the women would be defending his sexuality. Um, but Richard Pryor, not Richard Pryor, but Richard Penniman, Little Richard, it was like, yeah, like it was like I don't think it was a question. I don't think it was a question. And so it gave me a deeper understanding of where I knew he was. I always talk about from him being from Macon, Georgia, but I always knew that this was a queer person. And so before we go deeper into the conversation, I want to ask y'all, growing up or right now, I don't know how old y'all are, but you know, I'm in my early 40s, and growing up there were particular people who I just saw as queer possibility models, even if they weren't out as queer. Okay. And when I say queer, I don't mean sexuality, just sexuality, or only or even sexuality. Queer can be just kind of other, just different in that queer kind of way, like doing something that's out the box that revolves around gender performance, gender expression. There were a couple of people in my history that I feel like had that kind of for me, that kind of they were possibility models, even if they weren't. So I want y'all to tell me some people for y'all who were that for y'all. Like who were some of the people who were queer possibility models for y'all? So I'm gonna start. So Queen Latifah definitely was a queer possibility model. Prince, of course. Michael Jackson. I always read Michael Jackson as queer. Um, um, Luther Vandross, Michelle Indiocello, bass guitarist. Grace Jones. Yes, Grace Jones, definitely. Um, Grace Jones. Rasan Patterson, Dennis Rodman, absolutely. Madonna. Anybody else? Boy George. Boy George, definitely. I don't know why. What's the careless whisper? Why can't I George Michael? I didn't. George Michael wasn't. Yes, Rick James down. Pete Burns. Pete Burns. Who is Pete Burns? I don't know who Pete Burns is. Is that somebody who I should know? Pete Burns. Patti LaBelle. Queer? Queer? Interesting. I never, not me. What was queer about Patti LaBelle? I remember her costumes and stuff, but I didn't associate that with gender expression. Queer. Patti LaBelle. Interesting. He sang You Spin Me Right Round, Baby, Right Round. Is that the song? Am I singing the right song? You spin me right round, baby, right round. He had all the surge. I'll have to look him up. I know that song. He was an 80s singer from the UK or England. Gotcha. I know that song. Tupac, his masculinity looking back at it, gave performance. At the time, I growing up at the time, no. Now, as an older person, when I look back at Tupac, yes. When I look at him before he started to do the performance, I'm like, I think Tupac was queer. I do. Like I'm looking at pre-fame interviews and I'm like, this is a butch queen. What is happening here? I'm like, wait, hold on. Like I'm getting it's either it's either butch queen or extra theater kid queer. I'm like, I'm getting all of that. Yes, ma'am. Definitely. Who else? Richard Simmons. God, there's a lot of Richards. Richard Simmons. Um, Richard Pryor. Now, not because of how he act, but because of his openness about queer stuff. Like Richard Pryor is the first time I felt the whatever the image that you feel about trade. Like Richard Pryor gave me my first image of what a piece of trade was. Cisco, definitely Cisco. That blonde hair, yeah, definitely Cisco. Um, Babyface, even though he wasn't queer, it was something. It was something soft and queer about Babyface. It was something soft and queer. Marlon Brando. I didn't really know much about Marlon Brando to have a anything about him. My I think Godfather is the first in my brain time I recognize Marlon Brando. Patty's outrageousness in her expression. She stayed in the suit in the 80s and that hair. Yeah, that I didn't so I don't black women and I'll come back to that. I'll go deeper into that thought. So all right, anybody else before we move on? Who queer people um one of my co-hosts on the show said there was a gay man. I don't know. I don't remember his name. Gay white man that used to be on all the sitcom shows. I guess he paid one of one of the witches, gay witches on Bewitched or something. I can't remember his name, but there was like somebody queer that they related to. And she didn't care about the outlandish or the world. She also championed queer communities publicly. She did. Tracy Chapman. Oh yeah. The fact that she just won a country music award for Fast Car. What? How many years later? 30 years later. Melissa Etheridge. Come to my window. What is it? Oh, come to by the light of the moon. Come to my window. Yeah, I love that. That song was my shit. You got a fast car. Do 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 do. Who else? Who else? Any non-human characters? Any cartoons? Any cartoons? Of course, Ren and Stimpy. I felt Ren and Stimpy were similar to Bert and Ernie for me. Roger the alien from American Dad, Flash Gordon. Okay. You know who this may be surprising, but I always read them as queer. Robin Williams. The Wiz as a whole, Emerald City. Slide some oil to me. Hey, Andre. Let it trickle down my spine. Those who don't have to lubricate sure got it made. Um, slide some to my elbow, to my fingers, if you would. Slide some oil to me, girl. Now, don't that feel good? I don't remember the words. I'm trying to think, trying to think. Okay. So I always think about people who were kind of giving me permission to be different and they were doing it loud and publicly. And it made me, as a kid, I don't want to say look up to them, but it gave me room to be myself. Buttercup from Powerpuff Girls and him, don't take away him. Him was queer as hell. I read him queer as fuck. Don't forget him, but yes, Buttercup too. Baby Stud. Ursula. Did I read Ursula as queer? No, I didn't read her as queer, but okay. Ursula queer. Ursula is queer. I read Ursula as just spicy auntie. The auntie that was getting freaky back in her day when the parties at the palace was lit. Um, Not queer. I didn't read it as queer. Um, I read Kermit as queer. I felt like Piggy was his beard. When your room looks kind of weird and you wish that you weren't there, just close your eyes and make believe. Debbie Thornberry. I have no idea who that is. Debbie Thornberry.
According to the Wild
Oh,
Thornberries wiki, fandom.
where's what what show is this? Oh, I never watched the show. I think this is out of my age range. I think this is yeah, I never watched the show. That's why I don't know them. The Wild Thornberries. Is this like a Nickelodeon cartoon? Velma gave me lesbian. I can see that. Velma. I can see that. I can grasp all of that from Velma. All right, so somebody sent me a question. Hey Reggie. Reggie usually is here, but Reggie said that they won't be able to join, but they wanted to talk about it. So Reggie says, sent me a message once they knew that I was going to be talking about this documentary. They said, "Hey, I may not be able to join the live this week about Little Richard on HBO Max, so I wanted to submit a question or a discussion point early on since I'm not going to be there." Um, Zandria Robinson statement was the South in I think this is in the show. The South is the home of all things queer. Assured me that this documentary would be worth watching, especially because of the Little Richard's pride in being from Macon, Georgia. This statement, of course, just resounds what you and Zorandria Morris said and talked about in your episode called Agender Brilliance on Marshall's Plate. It is interesting, you and I've loved to hear you discussing this on the documentary and or the amorphous connection of the blackness, queer, and the South with your current co-host on the podcast. From your experience living in the South and in the Midwest, as well as traveling throughout the country, I want to know how you perceive the relationship of Black queerness to different regions. Also, do you agree with Xandrian's claim that South operates as the home of queerness? Oh, I think that this is an amazing Pepe Le Pew. You read him as queer? Tweety definitely. I definitely read Tweety as queer. Do any parts in the documentary make you want to cry or get emotional? Yes, tons of parts. Tons of parts. Yes, tons of parts. Him for Potiphar Gov. Yeah, we mentioned them earlier. So, okay, so we love to talk about systems, right? So we love to talk about systems of oppression, and you know when we talk about Patricia Hill Collins talks about the matrix of domination, and we talk about beauty standards, and you know all these things that kind of push and pull us in directions of certain things. You feel what I'm saying? So I say this, and I'm not the first person to say this, but this is something that I have affirmed in my own life. Being black is inherently queer. In the world that we live in, and it should not be like that. The world is up. It feels like the world is upside down because we are black folks are the originators of the race. So it shouldn't be like this, but because we have strayed so far from the truth, being black in America, I say in America, um, not in Africa, but in America is inherently queer because of white supremacy, because of patriarchy, because of these systems. Being black is inherently queer. Definitely, Pee Wee. Definitely. Is inherently queer. And remember what I said queer isn't always sexuality. Okay. There is a element of that, I think, but because we are constantly seen as the outsider of things, like the outsider of beauty. The beauty standard for women is long blonde girl next door, feminine, soft features, thin, fine, small, little lips, little nose, delicate features. Those things have been sold to us as the beauty standard. So if that's the beauty standard and our beauty features are the total opposite of that, then we are inherently queer when it comes to beauty, when it comes to our body type, when it comes, and we're not saying that we're not and I'm saying this in the context of the conversation so you can understand why I feel like we're inherently queer. Think of not to center them. We know that it should not be like that, right? I don't want to be like, why are we I don't want people thinking, why are we making them the standard? There is a reality of that in our culture that we are bucking up against, okay, because there has been a stronghold of whiteness in this country from its inception, because European colonization, all that kind of stuff. So it's not, I'm always somebody, when you are creating spaces for Black people, when you are creating spaces for yourself, when you are decorating your home, when you are creating music, when you are writing, when we think about like what Toni Morrison said, knock that white person off your shoulder. Like what would you write about if you were just free from slavery? Because a lot of times, not just slavery, but racism. Um, what would you do? What would you think is pretty if you didn't have these things telling you that light skin is better, if that white straight hair is better? What would you think is pretty if none of that stuff was infused in your growing up? So how do you undo that? How do you work against that? How does your home reflect what you want to look like, what you think is beauty? How can, when you create spaces that are safe for Black people, how do you do that? What do you like, say that you're having a party and you're curating the party? How do you create a space that says this is curated by somebody who is Black, somebody, and it's not about being a monolith, it's about this is a part of our culture. And in that culture is multifaceted things, but there's certain things that we like because of our culture. Though we're not a monolith, and we can go outside of those boxes and those parameters, there is a parameter that makes people feel like home, that makes people feel safe, that makes people feel like, oh, this is a space for me. R&B, hip hop, blues, something that gives me that soul music and jazz. You're not playing these things, I'm not gonna feel safe. I'm not going to feel like, oh, if I come into this space and I make references to peak Black culture things, if I make a reference to Shanae and on Martin, or Living Single, or The Roots, or something that were peak Black culture phenomenon, and you don't get it, it's going to trigger my, ooh, who am I dealing with here? Do you feel what I'm saying? Like if I put I could not do before I let you go. If I play Before I Let You Go and you're sitting there sitting like you don't know this song, when this is a part of the Black cultural lexicon of music, I put that on and you don't know it. Or if you don't know how to play spades, not saying that all Black folks know how to play spades, but if you keep triggering these things that you don't know, for me, I'm not gonna feel safe. It's because it's gonna indicate to me that you're not a part of Black American culture. Do you see what I'm saying? Does it make sense? Am I explaining it right? Like, it's not that we are all the same, but there are certain key things that if you are a part of Black American culture, you are going to know about them. You're going to have a reference to them. It don't mean you love them or like them. Look, you going to know what chitlins are. Even if you eat them, even if you don't eat them, you going to know what chitlins are. You going to know what chitlins mean to us. Whether you talk shit about them and I don't like them because blah, 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 blah. But you gonna know what they are because it's a part of our culinary lexicon of Black American culture. Do you see what I'm saying? And so when you are creating spaces, when you are creating um art, when you are creating your own culture or contributing to our culture in your way as a Black person, or as a queer Black person particularly, then there's these references that your life is going to inform you, and it's going to bring a certain level of comfort and home to it. And so, and it's going to be different than the apple pie, whitewash, boring, bland culture that is going to be the basic American culture. Do you see what I'm saying? The basic, boring, bland. The shit that's fire about America, we created. Sorry, baby. Just accept it. But it's gonna be always in constant it's gonna be forced in a queer space because it's not the bland whitewashed version of whatever that may be. Okay. And so I say that being Black is inherently queer because of that. Like you and it cannot it's not always sexuality, but it really shows up in gender a lot. It really shows up in sexuality a lot. It really shows up in our performance of our Blackness, in performance of our gender, and performance of how we do things. And so, and because Black people are predominantly in the South, in the Americas, in Northern America. There are states in the Bible Belt, the southern states that we like, oh, they're red states. More than likely, from Maryland on down, they have the biggest population of Black people. If you didn't know that, I know if you live up north and you're in like a city, you'd be like, oh, there's tons of Black people over here. But compared to the southern states, you don't have the amount of Black people. We have most of us are over 20%. Some of us are in the 30s. Mississippi has like almost 40% of Black people, and that national average is like 13. So I want y'all to think about that. So if we are inherently queer, where are the concentration of queer people going to be? In the South. And so these kind of queer nuances are going to pop up. So it is no surprise that, especially when we think about church and how many church queers come out of the church and how connected to religion Black people are, and how that births so many queer icons when it comes to religion and when it comes to gospel music. So many. So, what you said, Darnell, when it comes to Patti LaBelle, let me go back and read it. Uh, when it comes to Patti LaBelle, I think our 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 outrage, Black women being colorful and outrageous. First of all, we look amazing in color. That's first of all. We look amazing in color. So, us being bright and expressive when it comes to how we express our gender, I think that's normal. I don't always read it as queer, but in the sense of against the bigger the master narrative, yes, it is a queer expression. So I don't, because it's my norm, I don't always read it as queer. It just feel like this is just black women being black women or black men being black men. Them, I grew up with uncles wearing the bright red and the lime green and the orange suits and the big baggy suits that older uncle men used to wear. So being colorful and bright and um outrageous is was a norm for me. And so I don't always read those outrageous things, particularly in black women as queer, unless I'm talking about it against the master narrative. It just be the normal. So I'm like, oh, she's just being a fabulous black woman. um the large population of black and large population of queer folks, it can be a coincidence, right? So, so yes, it when it comes to um queerness in the South, there it was it's another element I want to talk about prior. So right now, the city that black queer people migrate to is what city? In our time right now, what city do black queer people migrate to most often? Atlanta. Like if you say Atlanta, then you're living under the rock and you don't know your people. If you don't say Atlanta. Atlanta is the queer mecca of the black queer mecca, particularly of the United States right now. Prior to that, what city was it? Now, don't count New York because New York is a mecca, a migrant place for people around the world. So take New York out of it because I think that New York is its own beast in the sense of anybody migrate to New York because New York is New York. New York is one of the capitals of the world. DC, San Francisco, Los Angeles. You can't count Los Angeles because it's so many people who are trying to be stars go to Los Angeles. Queer, straight, da 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 da. DC. Yes, I think DC. DC is one. I would say I see DC as one in the 90s because it was a chocolate city. It was a chocolate city and it was a yeah, 90s, early 2000s. And then it went from LA to DC. Then what? Behind DC. Somebody said it. San Francisco. If you talk to black people in California, that are not from there, there are so many black queer people in the 60s and the 70s that moved to San Francisco. Actually, from the 1920s up to like the 70s, San Francisco was a mecca for queer people. If you talk to old queer people who are like living or from San Francisco, it would be they will tell you we moved here from such and such, somewhere in the Midwest. They will tell you. But that was probably 1920s through like that time, the era. Now, New Orleans, prior to the 1920s, the late 1800s, mid 1800s to the 1920s, New Orleans was the queer mecca. And the reason why that is because of the French influence. French were way more open when it comes about race. That's why we had the the two caste system in in New Orleans, and there was no other place in the country that had that, where there was a middle class, a second class of Passe LeBlanc people. um because of France influence on New Orleans, it was super queer, and there was a lot of leeway that was made when it comes to race. That's why you see a whole different class of people when it comes to like how they treated mulattoes, how they treated light-skinned people, how they treated the master's illegitimate slave children. Whereas other places, you just was a slave. In New Orleans, because of that France influence, there was a difference in class, not just status. There was a difference in well, class and status, kind of the same thing, but it was they gave a little bit more. There was a little bit more nuance. Like there literally was a three caste system, like a caste system in New Orleans that was not in other places in the South or up north when it comes to race. So New Orleans was a mecca for queer people. It is no surprise that when we get to New Orleans and we start getting um in the 1900s, we start getting that kind of music. It's no surprise that a Katie Red or a Big Frida would make it big and make their mark in hip hop, in bounce music, in the culture of New Orleans, so much that it is a part of the heterosexual culture. You see what I'm saying? Because they were primed for that kind of nuance to be more accepting. It is no surprise that the first trans strip club would be in New Orleans on Bourbon Street, right in the middle of, you know, right in the middle of Bourbon Street. Papa Joe's. There is no, it's not a coincidence that these things were created and flourished, these queer entities were created and flourished in New Orleans because they had hundreds of years of that kind of nuance when it comes to queer people, when it comes to queer in race, queer in sexuality. This was the place that you go when you were queer in the United States during the 1800s, late mid 1800s and early 1900s. Fast forward to it's kind of like similar to very similar to California. It is no coincidence that California is one of our liberal states because Black people, think about Mary Ellen Pleasant, they were moving during the gold rush. What years was the gold rush? I can't remember the exact years. Okay, Google. What years was the gold rush in the United States?
According to Wikipedia, the California Gold
Exactly.
Rush was a gold rush that began on January 24th, 1848, when gold was found by James W. Marshall at Sutter's.
So 1848 to 1850 something. So the late 1800s, Black people were going out west and setting up shop there. White people too. That's why Oregon was supposed to be the white utopia and Black people couldn't own land out there. But because Black people was going out there and being free and creating businesses and doing their thing, that way more free than they could be in the South or up north on the East Coast, way more free out there. It was the Wild Wild West. And when we think about the history of the Black Cowboys, when we think about the whole west side of the United States being taken over, first of all, being taken over by taken from the native folks, so we don't want to erase that. But Black people trying to find their way, because regardless, they brought us over here. We ain't figuring out how to get back. Some of us is not trying to get back. So we're trying to make what's happening trying to get land. We think about the history of Oklahoma. So there's a certain nuance that in these regions, it starts to be a flourishing Black community. The first Black filmmaker, Oscar, um, comes out of the Oklahoma era. His name is Oscar Rubidoux. Let me see if I'm sorry, y'all. My brain is Beyonce got my brain almost shut down. First Black filmmaker, Oscar Michaud. I'm sorry, I said Rubidoux. Oscar Michaud. Oscar Michaud. Yes. Oscar Michaud. He grows up in this kind of wild west area. This that like in Oklahoma, Tucson, something, Oklahoma in that kind of middle America era. And because of it wasn't as strict as the South, it gave certain people a level of freedom to hustle their way into positions of power. Think about Mary Ellen Pleasant. Think about even our trans icon, Lucy Henderson Hicks. One of the reasons why we know who she is because she moved from Texas. She moved from the crazy slavery strict Texas in the 1970s. I think it was 1970s. No, it wasn't that early. I can't remember exactly, but she moved. I think she was born in the 70s, and then she moved to California. 1870s, not 1970s, 1870s, I think. Anyway, she was born in Texas, and then she got married. Her and her husband, trans woman, moved to California, and she started opening up business. Same thing that Mary Ellen Pleasant was doing. Oh, she was opening up laundry services and restaurants, and there was a trans woman doing it around the same time, a little bit later. And so in the 40s, 30s, and the 40s, she has all these businesses, and she's in cahoots with the politicians. And how she got burned, no pun intended, was she had a brothel, and the girls apparently was spreading venereal diseases, burning people. And so when it brought her under scrutiny, that's when her marriage started to be under scrutiny, and she had to prove that she was a girl. She had to prove that, um, and she couldn't because she was actually born assigned male at birth. Um, and so she went to jail for perjury because she lied about being a girl and all this kind of stuff. So I say all of that to say this: there was a certain level of freedom that was happening in these places. And so it is no coincidence that California and the West Coast become this kind of liberal stronghold in our country because they had a head start in making those changes, and they had people in power to make different choices that affected what we see nowadays. And so it is no coincidence that that was suck being trans back in those times. I'm not necessarily I'm not saying that it didn't suck on certain level, but it also I can see there being some positives about it because nobody, and I know this from my own experience. When I moved to Mississippi, rural Mississippi, I used to live when I was 18, I moved to Leake County, Mississippi. And when I would meet people that in that area, because there was no preconceived notions about transness, when I come into the room, they are judging me based on me. Like it's not no, it's kind of it's not a just the technology difference and the surgeries we have available today. I'm sure terms of privacy and stealth was better, yes. Um, but also people's mindset. So If I come into a space and you don't have any preconceived notions about what a trans woman is, you haven't had time to think. Like trade now, we jokingly talk about it. Me and amongst the girls, we say trade don't exist no more because a part of the toxic fetishization of straight men and straight cis men. A part of that is that, but another part of it is you do because of visibility. Not saying that it's bad. Dudes that you meet nowadays have had the time to think about transness, how they would respond in meeting one, their political ideology around trans people. Back in the day, like in the 90s and 80s, because we weren't visible, we were a subculture of a subculture. People, only time they saw us was when we was on the host roll. They didn't have these preconceived notions. Now, when you talk to a boy, he done thought about it. He done uh you know, he done came up with a whole ideology and mindset around trans people. Do you see what I'm saying? He done came up. You talk to a dude, he done came up with a whole, like I said, ideology. But when they used to meet you, you were the introduction to this idea that they never thought about. A person transitioning gender? I've never met a person like that. And then they get to engage with you. They get to engage with who you are. They get to engage and see you as a human being almost, instead of this mental iconography kind of in their head of what a trans person is or what a trans person should be or what a trans person represent. Because now trans represents a shakeup of gender, politics, womanhood, all these things. So when you come in a room, it's already in people's mind what you do. Think about when you see trans women on panels on shit that they normally are not. Like when we go now, the Women's Foundation, they had Raquel as one of their Raquel Willis as one of their communications directors. So imagine a cis woman coming into a room that they normally don't see trans women in, and all of a sudden this trans woman is in a titled position of power. If it happened in the 80s, they wouldn't know what a trans woman was. Or you get what I'm saying? They wouldn't know, they wouldn't have no ideology. But because of what has happened culturally in the shift in the past 10 years, she can come into the room and say, "Oh Lord, I remember we used to have to have these trans girls. We didn't have to have these, be sensitive about this trans stuff. It was just women in here. Now it's women in these motherfuckers." They can have it, and sometimes it's positive. Sometimes it's, yes, it's more inclusive. We need to have this is beautiful. We're being more inclusive to all types of women. They have a political ideology. Does that make sense, y'all? I hope I'm not losing y'all. It's like they didn't have preconceived notions back in the day. And so you could introduce them to your humanity before they have already structured these ideas. Before they already structured these ideas. Yeah. So, because you become this, it's kind of like blackness. That's another element. It's kind of like blackness. So, if you are a white person or a non-black person that is not in community with black people, there are some preconceived notions that you're going to have based on how our music, how our people are depicted on shows, how our everything about us is kind of fed to you through a particular anti-black lens. So you're going to have preconceived notions of what black people are. what they do, what they like, how they talk, all these kind of things. And part of that could be just our culture. Part of that could be negative stereotypes. Part of that could be just the combination of all those things, the truth and the lies. All of that builds an ideology around Blackness to people who are not in community with us. And so, what we learn, data shows us, is that people who are in community with Black people, who actually know them, who actually love them and see them as equals, and have an intimate understanding of their life, they're more likely to be liberal, more likely to be anti-Black, more likely to be pro-Black, more likely to be allies in the struggle. Could this be a reason why older queer folks like to stay under the radar? Because being all out there has made way for the preconceived notions. I talked about this recently. I think that there's a level to that, but there is also a level of conformity that happens with older queers based on survival. Okay, when you're young and queer, you like rainbow flag. I'm this, I'm that. I'm wearing the you remember with the gays, they young and got their young bodies, so they're coming out with crop tops and short shorts, and they're coming out being extra flamboyant because it's almost like a rebellion that is happening. Do you see what I'm saying? It's almost like a rebellion to I'm rebelling against this idea of manhood that you said I have to be. First of all, it's toxic for me to be that. First of all, it harms me to be that. I cannot perform. There are some queer people, particularly gay men, and gay women, but in that I cannot perform this way. This is not comfortable for me, and it is toxic. And once I get to a certain age where I can have a certain level of freedom, I'm out here and I'm doing my thing. So it's almost like a political rebellion when it comes to my gender, when it comes to how I express my gender. So they get full on flamboyant gay. But especially when they're young and they have the cultural protection of youth. Because what happened is we want to take care of young people. But what happens is when you get into adulthood, you lose that cultural protection of young people. And you got to survive. You got to pay bills. You got to get a job. And so now you're coming up against corporate. Now you're coming up against the social rules that says a man should be like this. Now you're coming up against the real world and you need to make money. You need to have a job. So when you get older, you go to work, you do your interview in your suit, in your da-da-da. And it doesn't mean that you compromise being openly gay. You could say, yes, what I do in my bedroom is my business. So yes, I'm openly gay. You can be openly gay in that way, but you conform how you dress. You conform how you present to the world to get that job, to be acceptable. Now, sometimes queer men, if you ask them, they will blame it on, oh, this is just maturity. This is just what happens when you get mature. No, yes, it is. But when I see y'all behind closed doors and it's a safe space, you gay. You still in a boa. You still flamboyant. You still snap finger crackle pop. You still give that super high energy femme. When you're in a safe place, we come to your house and you in a satin silk robe with some boas on the end. You're giving me this queen that we've known you for all your life. But when you go to work, you turn it down. That is conformity, baby. That is not maturity. That is just conformity, because who you are at home is still that same flamboyant gay boy. But as you got older, you learn your survival depended on that conformity. And this affects queer assigned male at birth very different than it affects, not saying that it doesn't affect them at all, but in this day and age, this affects queer assigned male at birth flamboyant femme men way more than it affects butch masculine assigned female at birth people, because they can go into their job because women can wear pants, because of the feminist movement and things that have made it acceptable for women to be a little bit more masculine and not in skirts. Now, back in the day, the butch people, the butch girls used to wear them out because they want you to be in skirts. They want you to be a 1950s Doris Day girly. But times have shifted to where women can wear pants. It's fashionable to wear pants and suits and have, you know, if you're doing business casual, to wear jeans and a blazer and a feminine shirt or whatever. It's a little bit more. It's a little bit more laxing when it comes to how a woman can present and still be perceived as not a threat. Still be perceived as professional. I think where they get a lot more pushback is going to be their hair. Um, and that's a whole, anti-blackness. I think I particularly see it with aging black queer femme black queer men. They will tell you, "Oh, it's just maturing." Mm, nah, it's not just maturing. You're just blaming it on that. Not saying that you don't shift when you get mature. There's a shift, but there's a reason why you shift to more masculine. And that's just survival when it comes to um jobs and shit. Don't let me get on desirability, because what happens when you get older is that fetish for mass get to being stronger. And I can't even find a partner because everybody is looking for mass for mass. So I got to pretend on the sites that I'm a top. I got to pretend on the sites that I'm not effeminate. So when I talk to you on the phone, I'm giving you my deep voice. I'm giving you, yeah, my nigga. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Yeah. However y'all talk deep. But then you don't know how many times my gay son will be talking to somebody that I know on the phone, and my gay son is a queen. Flamboyant, flame, bright queen. Rest in peace. And he will be talking to somebody that I know on the phone that they done met on the dating sites, and both of them are giving each other a performance of masculinity that I have never seen. I'm like, I know both of you faggots, and y'all don't act like this. And because I know y'all and y'all don't know each other, y'all both is giving this mask for mask, and that's not neither one of y'all. Why are y'all doing that? I know why, but I see that so much where everybody is performing this masculinity to be more desirable, to get some peen, or to get some type of relationship. Some of them it's natural, but some of them, no. I see you out. I've done been in spaces with you. You are a queen. And that's okay to be until it's time to be desired. Because everybody want to fetish masculinity. And so it's a combination of the culture pressuring you to be more masculine on the bigger, larger culture as a queer man, and the internalized homophobia of our own culture that says that you need to be desirable, you need to be masculine, because don't nobody like nobody that's gay. Oh, I ain't that gay. I'm not rainbow gay. I don't go to the gay clubs like that. I ain't that gay. It's always I ain't that gay. Sweetie, you get your holes plunged by a penis. You are plunging holes or getting your holes plunged. That's gay, my nigga. That's gay. Ain't no such thing as gay. You gay. It's all gay. That's weird. Anyway, So that's the conversation that I have about black queer people in the South. There I think black people are inherently queer. Queer not necessarily limited to sexuality, but queer in the sense that we are always bucking up against the mainstream standard and the master narrative. So we are always queer in the sense of being othered and being different. Look at Taylor Swift. We talked about Taylor Swift earlier. Look at Taylor Swift, look at Zendaya, look at Megan. There is only one of them that is always being joked about being a man. There's only one of them that is being attacked. Their womanhood and femininity is being attacked. That's going to be they all around the same height. They all 5'11 plus, 5'10, 5'11, 6 foot plus, in that tall woman era. Um, but only one of them is getting questioned about her manhood. And then when we think about her womanhood, being called a man, and we think about people like Serena Williams, when we think about Michelle Obama, who is 5'11, when we think about these women, Sierra, it is only those women, only our women who is always attacked. Their femininity and their womanhood is always attacked because of the master narrative and our internalized anti-blackness and internalized misogynoir. Because it's just not the white folks, the man. It's just not them. It's our own people. The people who be calling Megan a man, I don't be seeing white people doing that. It be our men, black men, and other women. I think there's an obsession with masculinity that exists up north too. We're all fronting. It's a spectrum. Oh no, 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 no. That part I'm not saying is just in the South. No, 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 no. I'm just saying it's more. There's more black people down here, so we're gonna see that culture s- show up more often. There's more black people in the South, so anything that is affecting the black culture is going to be concentrated down here, just because there's more black people here. No, I'm not saying that masculinity thing, that's all around the world. I don't think that that's just in the South. But I think it's just more extreme because of so many black folks down here. So, let me switch lanes a little bit. So, back to the documentary. So that is about him being from the South and him affecting just kind of being himself. But he is notorious. Little Richard is notorious for flip flopping when it comes to his acceptance in being gay, his acceptance with being queer. And I don't like to call him gay because he was having sex with women. Um, and can we stop? There's a there's a lot of nuance when it comes to bisexuality. They're bisexual. First of all, as a binary. But understand that there are different types of bisexuals. There are some bisexuals who romantically love the opposite sex, but they sexually will be attracted to the same sex. So you'll have a woman, and this is a lot of not straight, but queer women, they'll be romantically inclined to be with men, but especially the one that's straight, I call them straight adjacent. They'll be romantically inclined to be with men, but they will mess with a woman for sexual kicks, alone or with a men with a man with their partner. Um, but there are men like that too. There are men who they might prefer women, but they'll get their dick sucked or put their dick in some ass of a man or trans woman or non-binary person. they'll do they'll play, but they romantically want a cis woman. Or opposite. I done met gay men who I want to be with a man. Men are my favorite, but I'll slide in some pussy if she's sexy. If she, especially if they attracted to masculinity and they meet a stud that'll play around or, or whatever, however the cookie crumbles. And so bisexual, there is a understand that there is a spectrum within that bisexuality. And it's usually not half and half. Usually not. Not saying that it couldn't be, but understand that's how that works. Bisexual here. In high school, I was sexually attracted to men, but couldn't find the romantic attraction. I was both sexually and romantically attracted to women. Boom. Yes. And so that's some things that you consider when it comes to bisexuality. I know some of y'all homophobia, when somebody tells y'all that they're bi, y'all get triggered and get to, oh my God, well, I can't compete with no man and da da da. Just because they're into men that can be a potential doesn't mean that they're not into you. They can be committed to you and not cheat on you with a man. They could like you. They might be with a man when they leave you, but while they're with you, they like you. And so you're not competing with a man. Anyway, so yeah, I keep saying Richard Pryor. Little Richard was dealing with women and men, orgies and all that kind of stuff. So watch the documentary. But he was notorious for, flipping and going into church queen mode. And so I wanted to talk about religion a little bit because I just talked about how, because of our connection with religion as Black people, it is not a coincidence that there's so many queer icons that come out of church, and people's obsession with sexuality when it comes to controlling people's sexuality, whether it be gay people, straight women, anybody's sexuality, what you're supposed to do sexually, what you're supposed to like sexually. And it doesn't always align with the Bible. And I'm talking about just not on sinning and not sinning. There is a expectation of men to be promiscuous, even though the biblical rule is you're supposed to be faithful to your wife and love your wife like Jesus loved the church. That's what the Bible say. Like Jesus loved the church. But the social rule is men should be promiscuous. You should be getting as much pussy as you want. You should be getting as much pussy as you can, because the amount of pussy that you get translates to you being more masculine. So even in locker room talk and barbershop talk, they are pushing heterosexual married men to be promiscuous because that is what men do. That's just being a man. So even outside of the realm of the rules of the Bible, the culture is not telling them to be who the man is. So it's because they are always because the church is always governing people's sexuality. It is no coincidence that you will meet queer people of a certain age, especially older than 60, who still have that kind of weird investment in God. And so if something happens, whether it be they have a a scare, they get HIV, or cancer, they get something that not now, because I want to make we are in a whole different place when it comes to HIV and AIDS now. People are not out here dying of that. People, there's medicine is taking care of stuff now. But back in the day, when they would get the status and we didn't have the medical advances that we have now, they will go back into the church because they still have this connection to religion, and they want to get right with God because it's this connection. I seen that all the time when I was growing up. When I was growing up in the 90s, it would be so many gay folks, honey. It actually used to this is inappropriate, but it's just something that we used to say because we were ignorant teenagers. It was so prevalent for gay men, in particularly, in I'm saying men because I was in that realm, assigned male at birth people. It was so prevalent for gay men who became positive to go back to the church that the nickname that we had for getting the package, getting the bug, getting HIV was, we used to say, "Oh, they're standing in the prayer line." Instead of saying they having HIV, you know how some say they got a house in Virginia. We used to say in our city, we used to say, "Oh, they standing in the prayer line," and that used to mean that they were positive because now you're standing in the prayer line because you don't went back to church. Now you're going to church every Sunday because you done got this diagnosis, and oh my God, now you're trying to get your life right. And there was so many gays that were doing this in the 90s because a lot of them grew up in the church, or there was this connection to the church that they couldn't let loose. And so it's no surprise that he kept going back to that homophobic religion. You see what I'm saying? It's no surprise that he went and married a woman and started doing gospel albums, then went back to being gay. And then when he was about to die at the end of his life, was on TBN. Is it TBN? With Pat Robertson or whoever he was with, being anti-gay and being homophobic. That is of a sudden, I think we will see that less because so many more people are divesting from religion. I thought it was interesting back in the day when Oprah and Whoopi were seen as queer. I saw Whoopi as queer. I didn't see Oprah. I didn't hear people saying Oprah. Oprah always had Stedman. Um, the whole little her and Gail situation, that came years later. Back in the day, I never heard about Oprah being queer. People were always talking about Oprah's weight. When I was growing up, people was always talking about Oprah's weight and how she was a sellout, wanted to be white, all that kind of stuff. Now, Whoopi, yes, people said that Whoopi was queer. That was a her getting with Ted Danson, the white man, was a shock to people in my community, in my vicinity. And thinking about sexuality, I find the gays have to pressure the fact that they're gay to peg by people down to it. Explain that statement, because there's some elitism with being closer to heteronormative behavior. Yes, there is a level of, when it comes to bisexuality, where if somebody's gay, or there is a level of, I rather say I'm bi than say I'm gay. Because I had a cousin like that who he only deals with men and don't deal with women, but he loved to say he bi. Now, I don't know, he could be, but you only deal with dudes. I ain't never seen you with no girl in my whole life. But I think him saying, in our family, him saying he's bi gives other people hope, other like family members hope. He's not gay. I think they think like that. But yes, I think saying that you're bi doesn't fully put you on the LGBT, when it actually does. The B, my nigga. It doesn't make you totally be gay. It's like bi is a soft landing for coming out fully. Yes. Same with masculinity. Some people consider it a flex to act straighter. That's why I think so many people mask their femininity. Yep. I think it's all internalized homophobia. It's all that's what it is. It's all homophobia. That's all it is. Um so what I wanted to ask y'all is how do y'all feel about those people? How do y'all feel about those people? Like when we think about those gay people who join conversion therapy cults and be running around talk about I'm delivered like Andrew Codwell. What do y'all think about those queer people who go back in the closet? What do y'all think about them? Especially if you are a Christian. I want to know your thoughts. Do you think gay people can be saved and transformed and converted from gayness? Like, do y'all believe that? I guess for me, I am a person who believes if there is a behavior that you don't want to do, you can have the willpower to not do it. You can have the willpower to not act on that behavior. You can have the it's the same thing when I think about when I tell people about homosexuality being a choice and not being a when they say you're born this way, da, da, da. I try to explain to people, I said, for me, I don't feel the attraction is a choice. I feel like to act on the attraction is a choice. Because you can choose not to act. You can be attracted to men if you're a man. You can be attracted to men and not act on that attraction. But I don't think the attraction is a choice. I do not. I think you can control your behavior. I think you still feel how you feel. Yes, that's what yeah, I agree. I think you can be a person with tons of willpower. You can be a person with tons of, just control over your behavior. And yes, you are attracted to men, ideal world you would want to, but you choose to not act on it. Yeah, that's true. To actually have sex and follow through is a choice. Yes. Being gay is not a choice. However, the choices you make being gay are telling. A lot of clergy and Christian gays say they are choosing God over their own desires. It's a delusion. I don't know. I don't it's hard for me to if they're actually doing that. Now the ones that are sneaking and honey, watching porn and sneaking and having down low relationships, that's weird. But if they're actually doing that work, like they're actually saying, I really believe that this is wrong behavior. I really believe, not me, but say that they're in their mind, they're thinking, I think based on my religious beliefs, I do think this is wrong behavior. I do think that this is unnatural, blah, 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 however they feel. So I am not going to act on it. I feel like this is my test from God, and this is my journey. This is my battle. And I have to have the willpower to not act on this demon or not act on this. I can see people believing that. I can see people believing in and me, no, I think that's weird. I think that I don't think that that's something that God would do to you. I feel like that would be a very unjust, unfair God. Well, I don't know. I'm not really a Christian, so I don't want to be too deep into that, but I don't know. I feel weird about it. My thing is, what is the reason? You're only choosing this because you have been convinced that it is sinful. You really think God wants you to be lonely and depressed, like Donnie McClurkin? Who wants that? What God? But then you gotta. That's another thing about God. It's like, but then you gotta think about other tests that they like. Oh, this is a test. Babies coming out with deformities, motherfuckers being born with cerebral palsy, and all these bad things that can happen to people that people chalk up to God. This is just the what's the song? He don't give you more than you can bear. He don't give you more than you can bear. Like, this is your test. This is, you know, I always laugh because people will make it seem like it's like I always give the example, and when I speak to religious people, I always give this example. I'm like, so this is what makes it hard for me to run with the whole um y'all y'all thoughts about God thing. Say you got old church lady, been going to church, this same church all her life. People in her life say, "Oh, she's a God-fearing, loving Christian woman. She's a good person. She really lives the life of a Christian woman." Let's say her name is Gertrude. So Gertrude goes to Mount Calvary. She go every Sunday. She's on the usher board. She the church treasurer, getting the money together. She is known for being a sweet, loving, non-judgmental woman. She goes to church every Sunday. She's just that. She's what you think of a good Christian. Like, she just like, hey baby, you want to go to church with me? She ain't really pushy. She just, I love you anyway, sweetie. Da, 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 da. She gives you that kind of grace that you would expect from a real Christian. Okay. That's what Gertrude is. Go to the other side of town. So Gertrude go to Mount Calvary. We got Cheryl, Sister Cheryl. Sister Cheryl go to Mount Olive. Okay. Sister Cheryl is almost the spitting image of Sister Gertrude. She go to Mount Olive. She is sweet. She's a Christian woman. She living the life of a saved woman. She is just cool. She's just a cool, nice woman. Spitting image of Gertrude. Sister Cheryl, drives a car, and she need to go to the grocery store. So she get in her car, drive her car to the grocery store. Sister Gertrude need to go to the store too. While Sister Gertrude is on the way to the grocery store, she gets in a car accident with Sister Cheryl. So boom, their lives collide. Sister Gertrude, Sister Cheryl get in a car accident. Sister Gertrude go back to her church the next Sunday. Sister Cheryl go back to her church the next Sunday. Sister Gertrude, when the preacher and them say, "Oh, anybody got a testimony this week?" "Oh, hey, Sister Gertrude, stand up. Go ahead. Give us your testimony." She get on the mic and she tell the whole congregation, "Oh Lord, the devil has been really trying me this week. I got in a car accident. But the devil's a lie. I know God is gonna bless me, and it is what it is. I ran into the back of her, so I know it's gonna be my fault, but I got insurance and I'm gonna have to pay her. So the devil, the devil, the devil, the devil, the devil." Now, Sister Cheryl go over to her church, Mount Olive, and do the same exact thing. And she go over there and she say, "Oh, the Lord has blessed me. The Lord, the Lord, the Lord. This lady ran into the back of me, and my insurance, she had insurance. And so now I can get me a new car. I'm blessed. The Lord. Amen. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah." So Sister Gertrude said it was the devil wearing her out. The devil is trying her. But Sister Cheryl said it's the Lord, it's the Lord, it's the Lord. Blessing her. Which one is it? Is it the devil? Is it the Lord? These circumstances that they both are in, which one is it, baby? And so what I tell them, now my response to this, now that's what I ask them. My response to this is, I don't believe that the Lord and the devil are just puppeteers doing stuff to people. I feel like motherfuckers got their own will. I feel like humans have their own will and they do shit to other humans that don't have nothing to do with the devil or the Lord. Accidents happen. It ain't no blessing. It ain't no curse. It's this shit happened. This shit just happened. That's how I explain shit that don't got no control. That you ain't got no control over. Like some shit just happened. It ain't no blessing or no curse. From the perspective of Sister Cheryl, she think it's a blessing. From the perspective of Sister Gertrude, she think it's a damn curse. A test from the Lord. I think that's weird. And I think that the cult of religion, in the same way that we think about race, when we think about colorism, when we think about these images of Black people, these how we innately respond to things, I think that we are trained in church houses to innately respond to things a certain way. When we are in these, being indoctrinated into these religions, it makes us automatically say, oh, this was the devil, if it was bad. Or if it was good, oh, this is God blessing me. No, bitch, that was your son selling drugs, enough drugs to get you in a new house. Do you know how many families he destroyed with that crack that he was selling? And you thinking he blessing you? That wasn't the Lord. That was just human being human. But we have, and you're being complacent in your son's harm to community because it's out of sight, out of mind. Because he's selling drugs and he's benefiting you. And you're not asking him where he got that money from. You just taking it. Oh, I don't even want to know. I have an aunt just like this. The Lord has blessed me. Ma'am, we know what your son do. You pooching on the church ladies at church with drug money. And that's on Frank Lucas, right? So I don't know. But I also feel, so I feel like it indoctrinates us into thinking how we think about things. So it could be things happening in the world, but also it could be how we our behavior. All this, it could easily be this natural feeling of love and attraction to the same sex, and me responding to it, and then chemically, if you are a male, chemically, your body, I don't know what the chemical is called, but your body, once you nut, makes you want to be away from people. There's a chemical that does it. I can't remember what it's called. I think it starts with an L. And so that chemical happened in your body, along with the indoctrination of religion to say, "Ooh, this is the devil." Now I gotta feel guilty. When I was trying to get the nut, it was like, oh, I'm horny. Da, 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 da. But once I get the nut, now my brain is saying, oh my God, the devil tempted me into putting my penis in that booty hole. Oh my God, the devil. Why did this young, pretty, big bubble butt queen come into my life? That was the devil. Oh. But it got you thinking, it got you indoctrinated thinking that this is a bad thing when it could easily just be, I'm just naturally attracted to this person and we messed around. The end. The end. But because you have been indoctrinated in thinking that this is a bad thing, indoctrinated into the shame of your natural feelings. Think about how we treat little girls, teenage girls, when it comes to period. Like we indoctrinate them into being shamed about what their vagina does naturally. So much so that it is fearful, it is scary. They're overly thinking about it. Can't even talk about it. Shame to talk about it. Thinking they coochies is supposed to smell like water when it's supposed to smell like coochie. And so they run around getting bacteria vaginosis because they using summer's eve to try to make it smell like a spring meadow when it's supposed to smell like a healthy, clean vagina. That is indoctrination into that shame. And I think that we do that about our sexualities, about our body, about you see what I'm saying? It's just it's we there's a certain thing about shame that we just do to people. It's just what it is. It's in our culture to do. And so for me, it's annoying for me to see like when church folks kind of switch and turn into the homophobic people that causes them harm and causes the rest of us harm. It annoys me, but I totally understand it. That don't give them the excuse, but I understand it. Especially if you're threatening eternal damnation and they believe in God. You see what I'm saying? Like if you're threatening them with eternal damnation and they believe in God, and they had these miracle moments that had them but that have them believing in God. It's like, I mean, what do you expect them to do? What I expect them to do, go on about your business. Why you got to throw us under the bus? Like, why can't you go and battle your demons alone? Why you gotta become the motherfucking Dante's Inferno of the Christians, coming down to save all the gays, coming down to say, yeah, why you gotta turn him into missionary fish? Why you gotta turn into this motherfucker that judges and you're self-righteous and judges the rest of us? Cause you fighting your demon. Leave us alone. Hmm. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about and give y'all things to chew on about that. I I think that about detransitioners, like trans people who detransition, you made a mistake for your life. You made the wrong decision for your life for whatever reason, whatever influences that you had, whatever put you in the position where you said, I'm a woman, I'm gonna get this exchange. Then when you do it, you regret it. That is your issue. That ain't got nothing to do with none of the rest of us. And yes, I'm not telling you you can't tell your story, but don't get on nobody's platform talk about the rest of us is making the wrong decision just because you made the wrong decision. That is your transition and that is your detransition. That ain't got nothing to do with us. It really irks my nerves. That can be your journey, that can be your battle. But don't make it about us. I'm not you thinking because you were influenced by seeing um Caitlyn Jenner and Laverne Cox on the Times. Oh, I think I'm trans. Yes, let me go do all these surgeries. You were that fool. That don't mean the rest of us. This could be a reality for the rest of us. You were that person, that gullible. I didn't become trans because I saw other trans people and I was influenced. Oh, I'm getting pressured. Girl, that's you. That's your foolery. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I could became trans because this is who I am. Prove their transphobic point. Absolutely. And because they need validation, which is probably why they did their transition in the first place, because they need validation from people. Now they're getting validation in this way. That's what they be saying. Yes. So I talked about inherently queer Black people in the South, talked about church folks. Oh, I want to talk about I don't know. I'm starting about queer contributions to the culture. As we are going on in time, we are and things are being revealed. Have y'all noticed that some of our most celebrated icons were queer? When are we going to accept that? And when are we going to accept it and let that shift in our mind as a culture? Think about who is one of the best singer in pop that we know. Whitney Houston. Robin comes out and tell us that she was queer, bisexual. We got books on Luther Vandross. We got Little Richard, the architect of rock and roll, which totally shifted everything. There is nobody that Little Richard, watching this documentary, there is nobody that Little Richard did not impact when it comes to our pop icons now. They're either two people removed or directly impacted. When we think about Michael Jackson, when we think about Prince, when we think about Beatles, all these people, Rolling Stones, all these people said, all these people said that they were directly impacted by Little Richard. When we think about the queer people in church, when we think about um, ministers of music, when we think about all these people, yo, there is nothing that we are not into in the same way that we talk about blackness. This is where I feel Black folks are failing. In the same way we talk about the fabric of America, how blackness is in every piece of fabric of America. When we talk about American culture, when we talk about the shit that is fly, when we talk about the stuff that we love, when we talk about the music, when we talk about the art, when we talk about things that are created that is that we claim as American culture, and how Black people are a part of that, despite the erasure, how we break our necks to prove that look at what we contributed to this country. I think we do a disservice to ourselves to not include our queer contributions. It's crazy, particularly Black ones. It's like just as intricately we are intertwined as Black people in the fabric of this country, queer people as well. We are intricately intertwined in the fabric of this country. When we think about Rustin, have y'all watched Rustin? Make sure y'all watch Rustin on Netflix. It is really, really good. Um, It needs to. Y'all need to. It's a couple of things y'all need to watch. Y'all need to watch Rustin. Y'all need to watch I Am Polly Murray on Amazon Prime. Y'all need to watch Luna, Danielle Luna on HBO. Y'all need to watch Little Richard on HBO. Um, I need to watch The Stroll. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Diamond, why couldn't Mahalia sing in the movie? Oh, child. Who? Why did they have her? I don't know what they was giving. It's a couple of choices that I was like, what is happening here? Yes, yeah, those are really, I think those are really oh, you know what else is good? And my homegirl Aria was one of the consultants on this. And my homeboy, um, he's not black, but he's my queer homeboy that I love. Eric Cervini, he is a PhD. He has a book called The Deviant Wars, which is really good if you like books. You can, or Audible, read it on Audible. But he has a show called The Book of Queers on HBO. Oh my God. I didn't know there's so much facts and history of Abraham Lincoln being queer. So when we think about Hamilton, when we think about the fabric of this country, queer. That is wild to me. It is so many things that we are a part of. It's like I think we have to do more work, and that is why I'm passionate about sharing people on my particular channel, on my particular platforms, who are doing the work now. When I pass away, if these things are up, and I want some young person to be able to find them and have a plethora of leaders now that they can be like, oh, this is an archive of community leaders, archive of artists, archive of whoever in this time is out here doing work or out here doing something powerful. I think that's important because I have a hard time finding things. I hate when I feel like I have a library catalog of information in my brain, but there's still shit that comes up that's like, oh wow, what? Like, let me give you. Oh, this is good too. Y'all need to watch South to Black Power on it just they just added it to HBO too. It's really, really good. I just learned in that documentary that white people migrated, liberal white people migrated to Vermont intentionally. They organized themselves to migrate to Vermont and take over Vermont's political landscape so that it can be more progressive. Isn't that sickening? And so that's where we get a Bernie Sanders and the more liberal Vermont state. I was like, what? Wow. I did not know that. They literally, the hippie people, like hippies of the 60s, they literally organized themselves to all move from where they were in the country to move to Vermont and shift Vermont to a more liberal state. And so the South to Black Power is a documentary about people needing, or an idea of people shifting to states, these states that I was talking about with a lot of black people, moving, migrating back, basically moving to these states that have 30, 25 to 40, 30, 35% black people, and actually migrate back and do what they did in Virginia and shift it, which is what happened in Georgia. Why it turned blue? Because there's a lot of people moving to Atlanta. There's a lot of people moving to Georgia. There's a lot of people moving to Houston. There's a lot of people moving to these places, and so they're seeing a political shift. And so that's a good documentary too. Thinking about strategy. But yes, that's all I kind of wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the religious aspect of Little Richard, the impact, queer people being a part of the fabric, and then the church shit, the kind of contradictions of his life. It is a great documentary. I learned so much. I learned that he literally was in relationship with Lady Java, the trans woman, Lady Java. He was literally having sex with her, in relationship with her and in community with her. And I was like, wow. And they interview lovers, they interview friends, bandmates, everybody who's still alive. They have them all in the documentary. It is so good. It's really, really good. So you definitely get more details about his life, and it's good. So watch it. What else do y'all want to talk about before we go? We've been on here for 2 hours. Yay! Make sure y'all thumbs up if you like the conversation. I haven't told y'all to thumbs up. Everybody was in community with Lady Java, and I live. Honey, she was having Red Fox. She was having Richard Pryor. She was having Lil Richard. She was having the Queens, baby. She was having them. She was having the trade. The superstar trade. Oh. Red Fox was fine. Not to me. No, thank you. Quincy Jones was fine when he was young. Quincy Jones was fine. Mm-hmm. This kind of stinks. Well, not stinks. It smells. I guess it smells like candy. Yes, Red Fox. Did you find Luther fine when he was? I wasn't into Big Luther, but when he was slim, dark skinned Luther, yes. Young, 1980s Luther, yes. Dapper, sexy Luther, yes. He was young. Who I was into when I was younger was, unfortunately, I was inspired, influenced by my surroundings. So I liked hood niggas. So Rakim was my. I love Rakim. With Airbnb and Rakim. I love Big Daddy Kane. Oh, I love LL Cool J. I was infatuated with 80s hip hop icons. Tupac, DMX. DMX was more 90s, but especially when I got in my teens, DMX was everything. But Tupac, Cool J, all that kind of 80s to 90s hip hop. Oh, I was in love. The soft niggas wouldn't stand a chance. No. Mm-mm. The soft niggas of that era was Shamar Moore, Christopher St. John. No, no, thank you. Billy Preston. Yeah, I don't know much about Billy Preston. I know who he is in the name, but I don't know much about Billy. Mm-mm. It was, you know what was funny? Do y'all watch R&B Money podcast? So I watch it because first of all, y'all know I love music. I love R&B music. I would love to see James Chanel. What's the person that Krishan just beat up? I would love James to play. Um I would love James to play Sylvester. I just lost my train of thought. What would you just say yes to? James Janelle Wright, yes. What did you just say yes to, Ty? I think it's what the thought that I had before. Yes, I love it. What did you say yes, I love it too? Because I think that's what the thought that I just lost. um okay, yes, that's the thought that I lost. So R&B Money Podcast. Yes. So I watched that and I watch it partly because Jay Valentine is fine as hell to me. I love just seeing him. He's just so fine. And he ain't usually my type, but it's just, oh, hi, he's so cute. Um, and then his brother is fine. Honey, they mama coochie knew the assignment. Like the Omarion boys, his brothers and cousins and shit. They mama coochie knew the assignment, baby. They knew the assignment. All them is fine. Um, and you know, Tank is cute too. Tank is sexy. Tank is Tank is sexy. Tank and Jay Valentine can line it up for me. Yes, they can. Down. But anyway, recently, you know, I always read Johnny Gill as queer, but recently, apparently he was not. But that has always been the rumor. Um, and recently he was on the R&B Money podcast and it just felt like he was overcompensating. Like I don't know if you me for myself. I know straight people might not be able to pick up on these nuances, but queer people because we know it and we see it and we experience it and we experience men who are on the down low, who men who are secretly queer, people who are secretly queer women, whoever. Because we experience this, we know what it looked like. And you ain't about to tell me that this compensation ain't coming from nowhere. Like you are the only one that comes on this podcast and you talk more you talk more about your women conquest than your music history. Like this whole time we watching this, he talked the funny moments was him talking about him conquering women and having women come into the hotel and women. His whole interview was sprinkled full with stories about women and him proving that he's not gay. Instead of us talking about your amazing voice, there was some parts of the story where he would talk about his voice, but in my brain, I'm like, what are you compensating for? Like, clearly, we ain't even heard from you, Johnny, in so long for it to be, for the rumor to be on your brain that much. And you are sitting here just, I don't know. It felt weird. It felt like I've seen men do this who I know mess around, do this compensate, excuse me, this compensation. And it's weird. It's strange and it's weird and crazy. Cisco reads is queer as fuck though. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Even more so after podcast. Yeah. It was so strange. It was really, really strange to me. Mm. So yes, but I watch it and it's so good. It's such a good show. It gives you so many details because they know he is still living in Eddie Murphy's den of iniquitous men. Yeah. So wild. So crazy. But yes, James Wright Chanel, I would feel like that they would do really good. I think they would be a good Sylvester movie. Or I mean, who else would it who do y'all think? Who did you think? Mikhail Kilgore. Let me see who that is. He's too light. I would want it to be a tall brown skinned guy. He's too light. I would want him to be brown. Yeah, he's too light. I've never heard of this person though. Do they sing? I see them singing. Am I looking at the right person? Oh wait, no. This is a somebody else came up. This dude Brown. Oh yeah, I see. Okay. Somebody when put the name in just with the name, some light skinned dude came up. But when I put the name with singer, he came up. Oh yeah, I can see him. Is he tall? No, not Avery Wilson, child. No. He got the skill. He don't got the swag. Oh, he's cute. I like him. Avery got the skill, but Avery doesn't have I I feel like I don't know. I feel like if James Chanel Wright got Slim for the role to play a younger version of him, and then gained weight as the movie progressed. Yeah, I don't know anybody as far as the sound of their falsetto. I think Avery has a um Avery has the vocal ability, but his falsetto sounds like a woman. His falsetto doesn't sound like he grew up in church. Avery's falsetto sounds like he grew up listening to Brandy. Whereas James Wright Chanel sounds like a butch queen that grew up singing soprano in church. When there wasn't enough sopranos, he switched from tenor to soprano. He sounds like Mario, my friend Mario. Whereas Avery's falsetto sounds like he grew up listening to Brandy. It's a different kind of vibrato. It's a different kind of power. They could have got Billy. Is he tall enough though? I don't like short um people playing tall people. These all these dudes is short. Sylvester was tall. I need you to be tall. I need you to be plus size, and I need you to be dark. I need you to be Sylvester. Wayne Brady, child. No. Definitely no. I barely want to see Wayne Brady sing. You make me feel. Think of Wayne Brady singing, You make me feel my mighty real. Get out of here. No, definitely not. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Nope. I don't. I want it to be somebody queer. I don't want it to be nobody straight. I wouldn't want it to be. I don't like Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx can sing, but I don't like his voice. Let me say that. Jamie Foxx can sing, but I don't like his voice. There's some people who I just don't like their voices, and he's one of them. That I'm like, hmm. I know you can sing. I hear the talent, but I just don't like your voice. I have to accept that. You make me feel mighty, mighty real. Who I can't I'm stuck on James Chanel Wright or Wright Chanel whatever. Yeah, it has to be James Wright. There's nobody else. I mean, who who else embodies Sylvester more than James? Oh, oh, now we're talking. Yes, now we're talking. Now that'll eat it. Alex will eat it up, spit it out, put it back in his mouth, eat it again. Now Alex, yeah, I can see Alex. Yeah, definitely. Alex and James. I'll switch from James to Alex. Alex will slay it. Alex will slay it. Yes. Yeah, Alex. Yeah. Yeah. I can see Alex slaying it. Alex will slay it, slay it, slay it, slay it. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a really good one. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. I forgot about Alex. Oh, oh yes, God. Do I want to see a Gladys Knight biopic? I do not. I would watch it just to support it, but I do not. I would love to see a Sylvester biopic. I would love to see a Sylvester biopic. I would love to. I would love to see a Sylvester biopic and a Teddy Pendergrass biopic. A queer inclusive Teddy Pendergrass biopic. Because if I'm to be honest, I think Teddy Pendergrass was Luther Vandross's trade. The one he never tells people about. Oh, the blacks are going to be pissed about Teddy. Well, honey, we know he got in that car accident and the trans woman was in the car. That's the facts. And we know that Luther came and took care of him once he got um um once he got in the wheelchair. Luther was the one that had already dealt with him, but not sexually. Y'all need to read Luther's book. It's so many shit in there that you like. Now they don't say nothing directly, but us knowing the life, you like, this is given, and it repeats that Luther doesn't tell. They know he with a dude, but they don't. Luther doesn't. Luther is like a prudishly private person, prudishly private, and doesn't like to talk about sex. That's not classy to him. So he don't talk. He ain't the type that's telling all his tea and all his business. And one of the elements was the Luther and Teddy stuff. And y'all know Luther was about to had killed one of his artists, killed his artist brother. in a car crash. Y'all need to listen to the Luther book on Audible. It's good by Craig Seymour. I think it's Craig Seymour. Y'all need it's so much tea about Luther in that book. And he interviews people like close people, his mama, like Luther dated Randy Jackson. They didn't talk about that. But they were dropping tons of gems. You make me feel. You make me feel. Mm, you make me feel. That is sickening. I would live. I would love to him, but he feels to me, Luther felt like he was going through it. A Luther biopic is coming. The person who's doing the music is um um Donald Glasper. It is coming. It's me and May now. Is it Donald Glass? Is that his name? Something Glasper. What's his first name? Is it Donald Glasper? Robert Glasper. Robert Glasper. Yes. Yeah, he's doing the music for it. Yes, Robert Glasper is doing the music for the Luther biopic. It is coming, which I live for. You make me feel mighty, mighty real. I want to see Phyllis Hyman's biopic. You know, who else? I was thinking about physically, I would love to see oh yes, they do. I would love to see Jasmine do a photo shoot like Phyllis Hyman. I don't know if I want to hear Jasmine do a Phyllis Hyman voice. Jasmine Sullivan. But I would love to see Jasmine do a Phyllis Hyman look, like in a video, like her doing a Phyllis Hyman with the headdresses and the being tall and gowny. I would love to see her in that. I would love to see her do her music with a Phyllis Hyman theme video. Does it make sense? Yeah, it makes sense. Yes, that. I think that would be dope. But I don't know if I would want to hear her sing like Phyllis Hyman. But I'm excited about Tiana Taylor doing um Dionne Warwick because I think she looks like her. I don't think she has her voice. I don't think she has her voice, but she does look like her. She looks like Dionne Warwick down, but the voice would Gianna can sing, but no, they need to use Dion's tracks. Yeah, so yeah, I I like her voice, but I don't know. But I want to give her a chance. Yeah, oh no. Hold on, I'll be back. I want some ice cream because I haven't eaten today. Ouch. I'm being real auntie, honey. I got some butter pecan ice cream yesterday. Yeah, I hope she does. I want her to be good. Queen of the Damn remake. I'm tired of remakes, if I'm to be honest. I want some new shit. I'm like, ain't nobody creative out here. Why are we remaking everything? Why we need a Color Purple remake? Not that I don't think it's gonna be good, but I want a Sleepaway Camp remake. We in a trans renaissance. Why are they not creating a Sleepaway Camp remake? I want a girlfriend's movie. Yeah. Do I like Joan, Maya, and Lynn enough to go to be in a movie? We need it. That's all we needed. Just update the script. I like Tony Childs. She's funny, but I don't know if I could deal with them in a whole movie. Let's just do let's do like a you know, a temporary reboot for a special occasion, like they did with Will and Grace. I didn't really like those characters. I kinda like Joan, kinda. I did like Tony. I didn't like Lynn at all, and I didn't like Maya at all. Mm-mm. Nope. I already know. Her name is who I would want to play Storm is DeWanda Wise. DEWANDA Wise. WISE. DeWanda Wise. That's who I would want to play Storm. I think DeWanda Wise would be a perfect Storm. If I was casting Storm, she would be my first person that I would go to. No. Uh-uh. I want to see now. Hear me out. I want to see Janelle Monáe and Keith Steinfeld. Is that his name? Keith Steinfeld? Stansfield? Keith Stansfield? Is that his name? LaKeith Stanfield. I want to see LaKeith Stanfield and Janelle Monáe remake The Fly. That old movie with Jeff Goldberg and Gina Davis. Is that her name, Gina Davis? It's called The Fly. Wouldn't that eat? Think about it. That would eat. I be thinking about this stuff, y'all. I would be a perfect casting director. I swear I would. That would be so fire. Or I want to see what's her name? I want to see Journey Smollett, Janelle Monáe, Journey Smollett, Janelle Monáe, Emma Watson, Journey Smollett, Janelle Monáe, Emma Watson. What's that girl name that played Anjanou? What's her last name? Anjanou. Anjanou, the one that played Maddie Mars Clark. I play Anjanou Ellis, yes. So Journey Smollett, Anjanou Ellis, Janelle Monáe, Emma Watson. Is that the white girl, Emma Watson, that played in The Help? And Audra McDonald. I want them to play not Audra, and Viola Davis. Not Audra, I'm sorry. Viola Davis. I want them to play Paradise. So I want them to make a movie of about Toni Morrison's Paradise. Or 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 make Sula with Toni Morrison playing Sula. I'm not Toni Morrison. Janelle Monáe playing Sula and Lupita playing the girl that she fucked her husband. That was like I could see Janelle playing the fuck out of Sula. Who you casting for the Bull's Eye? Oh, oh. Okay, I got it. Nicole Behart as the mama. The little girl that played on um them. Remember them on Prime? The little girl that played on them. So Nicole Behari, is that her name? Nicole Behari. Beharie. Bahari. I think it's it. Nicole Behari. Remember she played on Black Mirror, Striking Vipers as the girlfriend. Nicole Behari. The little girl that played on what you call it as Picola. And Domingo Coleman as Bree Love, as the daddy. That was like that would eat. Collie, yeah. Yeah, Picola, I would that girl to play on them, the little girl, she would be 11. She's 11 years old, so that would be cute for her. Um the white girl is a young white girl, so has to be somebody young. I can't think of no new age. Oh, yes, I know who. Oh, is she too young? She too old now? I want to see more of Miss Thing as far as white actresses. Miss Thing that's young. Miss Thing that plays Esther in Handmaid's Tale. Miss Thing that plays Esther. I want to see more of her. But yeah, if I'm casting Bluest Eye, Domingo Coleman, Nicole Bahari, and that young girl. They would eat a bluest eye. Hmm. Yeah, she too old, but I want to hear her. I want to see her play something. She too old for that role, but I want to see her play something. I don't know. I don't know no kids actors, actresses, white ones that I see doing good work right now. Hmm. Yeah, Nicole, she got the range to give. And Domingo, yeah, I feel like they will eat the bluest eye up. But my favorite book by Tony is Paradise. Paradise is fucking sickening. I don't know why nobody wanted to do. People be scared to do Toni Morrison films, child. Paradise is so good. It's a whole dark skinned city of Ruby where they be pushing light skinned people out. So you can cast a whole slew of dark skinned people. and she goes through this whole story why this particular town is full of nothing but dark skinned people because they were very intentional about who settled in their little town. It could be. I don't understand why people don't. Probably because people don't be reading. People don't be. But I feel like it'd be dope. Town of Ruby is to be sickening. Um, there is a book by Stephen King. I don't know if somebody has made it. Eye of the Dragon by Stephen King. Yes, there's this book right here. Eye of the Dragon. Stephen King, Eye of the Dragon. This book's so fire. I don't know why nobody has made no movie about it. And this is what it says. It says this Stephen King fantasy novel needs an adaptation, but it's been stuck for 20 years. Stephen King's fantasy novel, The Eye of the Dragon, has been stuck in development hell for decades, despite its potential as a family friendly adaptation with medieval settings. The novel deviates from King's usual horror genre and instead offers a look into a quasi medieval world, making its unique addition to King's macroverse. I think it's one of my favorite King books. It's so good. While the rights to adapt the movie have been optioned twice, both attempts, a film and a TV series, have fallen through, leaving fans hopeful for a future adaptation. Yeah, we want that one. Why is y'all wearing us out? Eye of the Dragon is so good. Harpo, Harpo Studios was supposed to make the Paradise movie, but I think she got scared. She was supposed to do it years ago. Yeah, if Beloved hadn't tanked, but I think it tanked because this was a time in Oprah's, you know, she wasn't beloved at that time. They was hating on her because of that cow shit and because of, know, this is her time when, black folks wasn't liking her because she was rich. This is pre Black Lives Matter. Yeah, I love Paradise. Paradise was good. That's one of my favorite. That's my favorite Toni Morrison books. I do like Sula because when she messed with the lady husband, they don't live for her. But I like Songs of Solomon because I like Pilot. I liked Jazz. Which one was the where the man killed her? Jazz? I think it was Jazz. Where the man killed her on the dance floor. Would you watch a Oprah biopic? No, not really. Uh-uh. We done seen Oprah's life. We know Oprah's life too much of it. um, that sounds boring. Trying to think of who I would want a biopic from. I need them to be messy. I don't want. I'm tired of getting non-messy ones. Ones that reveal some shit, man. Like the Wendy Williams one. I liked hers. I want some that reveal some shit. Ooh, Eartha Kitt. Yeah, Eartha Kitt would be a good one. Who would play Eartha Kitt? I always thought this is a bad, but she always looked like her to me. I don't want her to. I don't want her to play Eartha Kitt, but her face always looked like Eartha Kitt to me. Taraji P. Hitton's face looked like Eartha. I don't want her to play her, but her face. It's something about her face that gives me Eartha Kitt. Yeah, Taraji, her face. I don't want her to play her, but something about her face that remind me. I don't think she has the chops needed to play Eartha. But I'm trying to think of who would play a good Eartha. Amira Van. Who is there? Amira Van.
According to Wikipedia, Amira Charlene Van is an American actress and singer.
Mm-mm. Okay. I see it in this picture. Okay. I see something. Okay. I see a little Eartha. Okay. It's giving a little something. A little bit. I see it a little bit. I see a little taste. Not from her acting. She always give me lesbian actor. There's a certain sex appeal about Eartha that I ain't reading from her. Yeah, it's something about her that gives me like when um when Latifah be playing her romantic comedies. When Queen Latifah be playing in her romantic comedies, honey. People on Twitter say Zoe Saldana. Let me see. Let me see how before I say her name, let me see how old she is. Cause I feel like she would have been good when she was younger. Tessa Thompson would have been a good one. I don't know her name. I don't know if she would be good, and this may not be good to y'all, but I feel like with her acting chops, she would play her down. So this is who I would cast. I won't say it's a perfect fit, but I feel like she'll eat it. As far as her look, I don't feel like her look is a perfect fit, but I feel like it's close enough. I feel like her look is close enough, but her acting skills are way sickening. Kiki Palmer, no. All right, so I'm about to say it. I don't know if I could pronounce this. Um, Sophie Okonedo. Her. Look her up. I feel like she has the acting chops and her look could be it. I feel like she has the absent. It's not the look isn't on, but it could be. With the right styling, she definitely has the acting chops. With the right styling, she could be the one. Yeah, she's Nurse Ratchet. Yeah, she was in that Ratchet. Yeah, I love her. I feel like she would be a perfect um Eartha Kitt. She was in Ratchet on Netflix. She was good. She gives me Lynn Whitfield. There's a darker, there's a darker. Lynn give you dark too. That Lynn gives too pretty. Yeah, not as regal. Yes. Lynn give queen. Lynn gives a regal church lady. Even before like Greenleaf, she was given there's something more regal about her. Bougie. that she, which you need for Eartha Kitt, but there is also a dark vulnerability that you need with Eartha Kitt. That's right under that regal surface that you can see kind of peek out. Because with Eartha, her emotions, the dark side of her life is right there at the surface. So she goes from sex kitten. When you watch interviews of her, you can tell that she was a tortured soul in the sense of that, because she'll go from a regal queen, and then if you ask her the right questions, hit the right spot, that darkness will peak up. And it don't be, sometimes it'll get intense, but you'll be like, ooh, you can tell she done had some harm and hurt in there. If you ask her the right question or get her in the right mode where she telling you need some darkness in there. And I don't think Lynn has that. Not in the way Sophie does. Yeah, Sophie would be dope. Sophie as Eartha Kitt. Mm. Well, I'm about to take my ass to sleep, y'all. I've been up and running around. I have been bombarded with emotions by Miss Knowles Carter. And yeah, so I am sleepy. So I'm about to go hit this bed. And I will talk to y'all later. Talk to y'all later. Make sure if you're watching this at the end, thumbs up. And yeah, we'll see y'all.